Right, so another question I have is, because I'm really curious about autism itself. So, what are some unique strengths or abilities would you say you have due to autism?
Well, I can remember as far back as, being in a cot,
Yeah,
staring at the wood material, thinking it was ocean waves, like the actual material of the wood.
yeah,
Yeah, I remember being.
yeah. I noticed you have a really good memory because earlier you mentioned something, right? That happened in primary school, and you mentioned the date and everything. I was a little bit impressed.
Yeah,
So, would you say it helps with your memory?
it does help with my memory, yeah, because I'm able to remember a lot of important things.
Yeah,
Sometimes when I feel like it, knowing me, I can be stubborn at time.
yeah,
It's because one thing I do remember, it's, some random things I do remember. I remember being in the playground and the boys trying to cause some beef. And I remember something like, I remember one of them was asking me, "You want beef? You want beef?" And I'm like, "Yes, please, with gravy and turkey." And they were like, "What?" And everybody was laughing. And I remember, I think I just stood there and I was smiling. And I
yeah.
remember loads of people were chasing me, and it got to a point where I wanted the whole situation to stop. I literally laid on the floor of the playground, and everyone was gathering in a circle around me. And my sister saw me and was like, "Alex, get up." And another thing I remember, um, I remember. Now this is one more memory I remember. When I was in ICT, I actually I had to use earphones for music so that we create our trailers for a music festival, which is part of our GCSE.
Yeah.
And I remember, has anybody got any earphones? And I remember I came up with something random, with something like, "I've got ear defenders, except they play no music." And then my teacher, who was, quote, mad, unquote, when she wasn't actually mad,
Yeah.
she went in her closet room and she screamed, and everybody was laughing. It was like, "Oh my gosh, Alex, like my sense of humor, my sense of humor is absolutely weird."
Yeah.
Yes, that's why I describe myself as the weirdest person in my family, because my brain is so different. But the number one word I describe myself is quirky.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, quirky, or quirkster even.
Yeah. So would you say that you was judged throughout school? Because I feel like a lot of kids can be very judgmental. So did you feel that way?
Well, they judge and they judge and they judge.
Yeah.
And honestly, things like that, it's nothing new, but it's getting worse nowadays. Because more issues are coming up and it's starting to get worse. More people are becoming more people are becoming more ignorant in a
Yeah.
way.
Yeah.
And it's really sad because people, accuse me of being, silly. Some I've been called immature and pathetic, just because I've tried to handle a situation in the best mature way as possible, be mature. And I've had people say that, "Oh, maybe you're best suited to a mental hospital," and I know I'm not, because at the end of the day, if it was that bad, I wouldn't be here.
Yeah.
But honestly, I've had to be strong, and often, a lot of the reason why I'm strong is because, number one, I didn't really have a choice, and number two, I was kind of forced to, in a way,
Yeah.
to be strong because of my upbringing as well. Yeah, yeah. Even the previous decade, that was tough,
Yeah. Why do you say that?
because I remember from 2014 to 2018, I went through bereavement 4 times that decade,
Yeah.
and it got to a point where I lost 3 family members in a row every year. So it was tough.
Yeah.
and but I've got through it, and by God's grace, He allowed me, to get through it.
And what was it like dealing with all that emotion?
Being emotional, and I'm a very sensitive guy naturally because I have emotions. I'm quite, protective of myself at times because people don't understand me that well, and a lot of people do, and fortunately, my best friend happens to be autistic as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, and when he told me, I was shocked because I had no idea he was going through that. Because, for me, with not everyone who's autistic or has any form of special needs shows it. It's not all about, it's not always about, the social cues. It could be, with the mind or the talent.
Yeah.
It could be with, the mannerisms. It could be, with their interests or their educational levels, or how they organize themselves. So the spectrum is pretty diverse, to be honest.
Yeah. That makes me think. You said some people struggle to understand you. Was there any point in your life that you just felt alone?
More than once.
Yeah.
And sometimes, for me, for me, it's common to feel alone because almost all the time I feel that way, and as I got older, it's now reflected on the music that I listen to. And a lot of it's to do with relationships, friendships, feeling like I don't fit in because I'm still a big kid at heart. Who's not looking to not grow up, but just still make chance of the youth and the childlike, inside of me that I have left before I get older.
Yeah.
So I try to make the most of it as much as I can because, I'm a big kid at heart and I'm not ashamed.
Yeah. So I got a question. Would you say it's hard for people? Because I feel like if I was to put myself in your position, a lot of people wouldn't take, when someone sees someone with autism or on the spectrum, they won't really take them serious. Did you have to deal with that?
Sometimes I had to deal with that. Not all the time.
Yeah. Because I feel like that's something I see a lot. Also, you said earlier you had very strict, not strict parents, but overprotective.
Yeah.
What was it like gaining your independence?
I'm still gaining it now. I haven't fully gained it. I think part of the reason why they're overprotective is because they see what's happening to young people, and they don't want the same thing to happen to me, so they're trying to get me the best that I can so that I can cope, with the real world. But at the same time, there are times where I just wish I could try to learn for myself, and that's why there are very rare times where I will actually compromise certain things, but most of the time I'm generally not a compromising person. As in some aspects when it comes to my hopes and dreams.
So, do you think in a way they still control some part of your life?
Maybe having to, provide money for me to get to uni, like bus fare.
Yeah.
Sometimes having to help me, do do things like getting help, with Q&A or customer service sometimes, because I find it overwhelming at times, and to do multiple things at once, and I can't. My brain doesn't always work like that. And it doesn't work like that at the moment. Not always.
So, throughout your life, did you encounter any challenges when it comes to not just education but employment also?
Well, first of all, I'm not looking for a job
Yeah,
at the moment.
because you're a student, right?
Yes. When it comes to boundaries that I've had to, deal with, so far I've made it through uni with any, and I've not had like a TA, sit with me and try and go through the tasks with me, because that unfortunately a lot, due to many things, happening in life, it never got sorted out, regretfully. Too many things overshadowed it, what should have been done.
Yeah. So, is there any support that you feel you're not getting?
When it comes to support, the closest thing I've to support now since college is just having one-to-ones with tutors.
Yeah.
Having to break it down.
Yeah. When I say support, obviously not just with your education, but also in your personal life, is there people that will sit there and listen to your problems? Anyone that you can go to when when you feel overwhelmed?
Luckily, there is some form of support, outside of uni. I have, my therapists who help me
Yeah.
and try and understand things from my perspective. I also have my pastor, who also happens to be one of my close friends, and my mentor, my personal mentor.
Okay.
Well, I chose him to be my mentor.
Why did you choose him to be your mentor?
Mainly because I think he understood me and got to know me very quickly and learned a lot about me very quickly. And I felt like I could come to him as a safe space. And that was really, really delightful. Because at one point I felt like at church I couldn't, like at my old church, I felt like I couldn't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Because I was going through too much, at one point. A lot of things for me personally too deep. It was just overwhelming.
Yeah. So your mentor, do you see him as a friend or a role model?
Both.
Yeah.
I see him as both.
Why do you say that?
Because he's a role model because he's taught me things that I need to know that to help me, and it's a great friend because we get on so well. And got to the point where I remember I was helping, lifting up a heavy drawer cabinet thing. It wasn't like massively tall. I remember I was helped lift it up, and I remember this big screech came out of my voice trying to lift it up because it was so heavy, and he was in stitches to the point where he was almost in tears of laughter.
Yeah. We're getting to the end of this episode. There's one last question I want to ask you. What advice do you have for individuals, families, or communities looking to create a more inclusive or understanding environment for people with autism?
My advice to people is, if you're going to create a more inclusive space for those type of people, get to know them, do your research, educate yourself, and try to understand the different cases, different spectrums, because being autistic is different for everyone.
Yeah.
Yeah, because honestly, I think the number one thing people need to know about us is that you don't need to cure us, you just need to understand us. And whilst we may be complex and it's not going to be easy, and no one said having special needs is going to be easy. Like, it's going to be hard, like life at times. And for me, I think it's a challenge because we have special requirements for our brain that works for us. And yes, we should try to get treatment and help, but you can't try and push us too far beyond our limits, because that's just gonna make us feel overwhelmed, and we could shut down as a result as people. So you have to try and understand us and understand having special needs, because we're just like you lot, except we just have different needs and different requirements, and we're just as unique as someone who doesn't have special needs. So and plus, like, you're not a mistake. Don't feel that you're alone. There are people that can help you. And no matter how complex it is, there are people that are going to have your back, and they're going to love you unconditionally for who you are. And that's the blessing. And in this generation, it's getting better, because more research is slowly starting to be put in place, and more people are being educated. And at the end of the day, we as a community, with being on many spectrums, not just mentally, emotionally, and physically, we are pretty much a community, like a big family, and we're all unique, and you just need to understand it.
So the biggest thing would be to try and make an effort to actually understand you guys and listen to you, right?
Yes, because too many people are ignorant, and I think the worst insult you can say to someone, especially if they do have special needs, is if you accuse them of lying. And that's what's happened to me. It happened back in November 2016. It's the worst insult you could ever say to someone with special needs, is accusing them of lying, especially when they're not. And it may not always be visible, but unless they're lying, it's beyond disrespectful.
All right. Well, thank you very much, Alex. Thank you for being here today. This has been the Giving Voices podcast. I'm your host, Bruno. This is Alex. Thank you for watching. We'll see you on the next episode.
I've been through days I pray to never go back to. Make the brokenness no get back to. I go back for life.